My name is Ethan Kessler, I'm 29, and I've spent most of my life being the disappointment of a family that breathes control like oxygen. My father, Thomas, is a retired corporate giant with a Harvard degree and a God complex. My mother, Maggie, once ran a private wealth firm like it was a battlefield. My brother, Brandon? He's the golden child, Ivy League, six-figure law career, 2 kids, 1 perfect wife. Me? I dropped out of grad school, freelance in cybersecurity, and avoid holiday dinners like they're landmines. I've always known I didn't quite fit, not in this family, not in their version of success, and definitely not in their eyes. But I thought at least Grandpa Walter saw me. He used to whisper that truth wasn't what it looked like, that one day, I'd understand. That one day came the moment I opened the envelope he left me. And after reading what was inside, I stopped calling Thomas and Maggie my parents. Because if what Grandpa wrote was true, I've been living in the wrong family my entire life. Cut. The rain hit hard that afternoon. Sharp, cold needles slicing the air as I stood under a black umbrella beside Walter's grave. Brandon gave the eulogy, of course, dramatic pauses, fake grief, polished delivery like he was closing a merger. Maggie wore gray. Not black. Gray, like mourning was a financial inconvenience. Thomas didn't speak. He just stood stiff, hands clasped, as if holding his breath would undo the fact that the only man who ever challenged him was now 6 feet under. I waited until the last mourner left. The pastor walked off with soggy shoes. Brandon waved, distracted, already on his phone. Maggie adjusted her coat and said, "We'll see you back at the house." "No, you won't." That's when the old man approached. Tweed coat, thin glasses, quiet steps. He handed me the envelope like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "Walter trusted you," he said. "Said you'd know what to do. He made me swear this goes to no one else." He turned and left without waiting for a reply. Cut. I didn't open it in the car. Not in the driveway. Not even inside my apartment. I waited until midnight. The kind of silence where even the air listens. I sat at my kitchen table, hand shaking, knife glinting on the counter from an unfinished meal. The letter was short. Jagged handwriting, like it had been written with urgency or fear. It read, "Ethan, don't trust your parents. They're not who you think they are. The truth is hidden in the house. Start in the attic. And hurry." Cut. The attic. Of all the places that held secrets, that house, the place I grew up in, was a tomb dressed like a home. I hadn't been there in months. Not since the last screaming match with Thomas about being a man and getting my life together. I drove over. The front door opened without resistance. Maggie was sitting in the living room, fire going, sipping tea like nothing had changed. "You look pale," she said without looking up. "Walter always made things dramatic in the end. Don't let his delusions follow you, Ethan." She smiled. Not motherly. Surgical. "I'm just here to say goodbye," I lied. She nodded, satisfied. Cut. The attic was still cold. Dust curled off forgotten boxes like smoke. One bare bulb buzzed above. My breath fogged the air. Then I saw it. The wooden box. Deep mahogany. The kind Grandpa kept locked with analog codes because he didn't trust the cloud. His initials carved on top. It was sealed. But a photograph had slipped out through a crack. I picked it up. In it, Thomas and Maggie were seated at a long oak table. Across from them, a man in a sharp gray suit held a pen. Between them, a document with the bold heading. Ownership Transfer Authorization, Estate of Walter Kessler. I looked closer. Date, 2 months before Walter died. My hands went cold. What were they transferring? And why was the document never mentioned at the reading of the will? Upstairs, the floor creaked. Someone else was home. Not Maggie. I shoved the photo into my pocket, stepped back into the darkness, and listened. If my parents really stole from Grandpa, what the hell else are they hiding? The attic door shut behind me. I didn't close it. I froze, eyes locked on the dark stairwell behind me, breath caught halfway between inhale and regret. A faint thud below. Then silence, the kind that doesn't feel empty, it feels full. Watched. I backed into the corner, clutching the photo tighter. Mahogany box untouched on the floor. Another creak. Heartbeat jumped. I dropped low, crouched behind a stack of plastic bins. Dust brushed my cheek. My phone vibrated in my pocket, harsh and too loud in the stillness. Unknown number, leave now. You're not safe there. Cut. I didn't answer. Just bolted down the attic stairs, 2 at a time. Skipped the last 4, landed hard, twisted my knee. Limped past the kitchen where Maggie's tea was still steaming, untouched. The front door was locked. Deadbolt. Chain. That chain hadn't been there when I entered. I yanked it off. Outside, cold air hit like a slap. I didn't stop until I reached my car. Slammed the door, started the engine. Tires screeched on the wet pavement as I pulled away from the house I once called home. And I didn't look back. Cut. Dahlia Mercer lived 10 minutes away in a 2-story townhouse with blackout blinds and 3 deadbolts on her door. Trust, she once said, is a security risk. She didn't flinch when I showed up near midnight. Jesus, Ethan. You look like you outran a ghost. Maybe I did. I handed her the photo. Then the letter. Her fingers were steady as she read. You think this is real? I asked. She didn't answer right away. Just looked at the photo again, this time with analyst eyes, the kind that could spot a forgery in 2 seconds flat. There's a date stamp. In the metadata, not on the print. That's harder to fake. And the document? She zoomed in. You said this wasn't in the will? No. Not even mentioned. Dahlia looked up, eyes sharp. If this is legit, it's a silent transfer of ownership. Not probate. That means your parents convinced him to sign it behind legal doors, maybe while he was sick, maybe under pressure. That's illegal, right? If he wasn't of sound mind. Or if they forged part of it. A beat passed. You think they did? She looked at me the way only someone who knew my family could. I think they're capable of worse. Cut. Her apartment smelled like coffee and cold data. Her monitors blinked to life. I handed her the box. The mahogany one. No key, I said. She examined the edges. Could be biometric. Could be old school. Let me try something. She slid it under a UV lamp. Nothing. Then she ran a small magnet along the side, click. The latch shifted. Inside, a leather notebook. A flash drive. And a small, brass cassette tape. Dahlia lifted the notebook first. Handwritten notes. Diagrams. Tables. I've seen layouts like this, she muttered. Structured transfers. Layered shell accounts. Offshore routing. This is all financial? Yes. And specific. Look, Grand Cayman, Zurich, Singapore. She turned the page. This isn't just Walter tracking his own assets. He's tracking someone else's activity. I pointed. That name, it matches the signature in the photo. Her eyes narrowed. That's a director-level alias used in shell companies tied to criminal laundering cases. If your father signed with that person, he's not just hiding money. He's moving it internationally. Quietly. Illegally. Silence. You're saying my dad's a criminal? I'm saying your grandfather thought he was. And he documented every damn move. She clicked the flash drive into her machine. Encrypted. Of course. She started running brute force software. Time ticked. I picked up the cassette. Who the hell still uses these? It's analog. Old school. Harder to track. Less likely to be intercepted or corrupted. She slid it into an adapter and played it through a speaker. Crackling static. Then Walter's voice, low, tired, but lucid. If you're listening to this, Ethan, it means I didn't get to finish what I started. They didn't just steal from me. They buried the truth. Your mother, she wasn't just helping Thomas. She orchestrated it. She found the accounts. Set up the paperwork. She. Click. The tape cut out. Silence again, but this one screamed. Dahlia's computer beeped. Got in. She turned the screen to me. Hundreds of files. PDFs, banking transfers. Internal memos. One folder marked, Magnus Entity, Redline. What's Magnus? She clicked. Up popped a document, heavily redacted, but one line glowed on screen. Director, Thomas Kessler. Legal counsel, Margaret Kessler. My throat went dry. They weren't working under the radar, I said. No, she whispered. They built the radar. The monitor flickered. Another beep. Her screen shut down. Lock symbol appeared. Red background. Text loaded fast. Return the files. Or we take more than your memories. Her security system lit up. Front door sensor blinked. Then the back. Ethan, she said, standing slowly, do you still carry that old pocket knife? Yeah. Get it out. We're not alone. I moved toward the kitchen drawer, heart pounding. The power cut. Lights out. A shadow moved past the living room window. My phone buzzed. One new message. Block number. There's no way my dad's not involved in something criminal. The apartment was pitch black. The computer was dead. The monitors lifeless. The only light came from the flashing blue of the router, until that, too, blinked off. Outside the window, the rain hadn't let up. It blurred the world into silhouettes and movement. One shadow moved left. Then vanished. Dahlia stepped back from the monitor. We're being watched. No, I whispered. We're being hunted. She reached for the drawer under her desk, pulled out a sleek, matte black handgun. Not for show. I've had to use it before, she said, loading it. Truth makes enemies. Especially the kind buried under money. I moved to the kitchen, grabbed the knife I dropped earlier. Hand sweat slicked. I couldn't tell if I was shaking from fear or fury. Maybe both. Someone knocked. Not a normal knock. 3 slow hits. Then 2 fast. Dahlia whispered, that's not random. That's a signal. I looked at her. You expecting someone? No one knows I'm working this case. No one but. Another knock. Then silence. I crept toward the door, knife raised. Breath held. Dahlia aimed the gun. I unlocked the deadbolt. Opened 2 inches. The badge came first. Laminated. Federal. Then the voice, Ethan Kessler. I'm here about your grandfather. She stepped inside, gun already holstered. Black jacket soaked, boots tracking water. Blonde hair tied back. Eyes sharp. Controlled. Detective Lorelei Vance. Former Financial Crimes Division, Chicago Field Office. Former? Dahlia asked. Technically retired. But some ghosts don't die quiet. She scanned the room. Saw the laptop screen still glowing red from the breach message. Her jaw tightened. You didn't encrypt that? It was, Dahlia snapped. They overrode it in seconds. They're escalating. Fast. I stepped forward. Who is they? Lorelei pulled a flash drive from her coat pocket. Set it on the table like a threat. Your grandfather was a whistleblower. He gave us documents, accounts, internal memos, all pointing to a laundering scheme under Magnus Holdings. She glanced at me. Your father's name came up. So did your mother's? Deep. Not fringe. And Walter? What happened to him? Her face hardened. We lost contact. 2 weeks later, he's dead. Natural causes, they said. But there was no autopsy. She looked directly at me. Your name came up too. In the files he sent. He left something with you, didn't he? Dahlia and I exchanged a look. He left everything. Cut. Lorelei plugged in her drive. New files. Different structure. Organized by year. Code names. Internal routing logs. An image popped up, Thomas and Maggie sitting across from a Swiss national, smiling. Hands shaking over a manila envelope. This, Lorelei said, was taken by a hidden camera in Geneva. 2014, same day a holding company your father controls absorbed a bank flagged for high-risk wire activity. Another image, a financial statement signed by M.K. Margaret Kessler. She's the legal architect. He's the executor. You were the backup plan. What do you mean? I asked. Lorelei zoomed in on one contract, a line highlighted in red, Succession Contingency, EK. Your grandfather feared they'd try to erase him. So he named you as legal fallback in case of interference. But I'm not, I stopped. Dahlia's eyes met mine. She understood before I did. They needed you out of the picture. Quiet. Broken. Discredited. Lorelei stood. They didn't just manipulate his assets. They built an empire around a lie, and now that you're uncovering it, they're accelerating. Why come now? I asked. She pulled out her phone. Showed me a photo. It was me. Leaving Walter's attic. Tonight. It's already started. Another knock. We all froze. A mechanical were from outside. Lorelei moved fast, lights off, blinds down, gun drawn. Dahlia backed into the hallway. I stayed still. The screen door creaked open. Someone jiggled the lock. Then a crash. The back window shattered. A figure in black came through, masked. Armed. Lorelei fired. Twice. He dropped, but not before throwing a small black cylinder. Smoke. Fast. Thick. Geo, she shouted. Get the drive. Dahlia grabbed it. I grabbed the box. Lorelei covered us as we bolted out the front. Cut. The hallway echoed with alarms. Someone yelled from upstairs. Footsteps pounded. We hit the stairwell. Ran down 3 flights. The exit door jammed. I've got the fire escape. Dahlia shouted. We burst through a maintenance closet. Kicked open the metal hatch. Rain and wind hit like knives. Dahlia went first. Then me. Lorelei last. Below, a black SUV skidded to a stop. Another figure stepped out. Not masked. Brandon. He looked up at me. Smiled. Hi, little brother, he said. You always did love games. If they buried Grandpa's truth, they won't hesitate to bury me too. We hit the fire escape like it was collapsing under us. Rain slicked every rung. Brandon's voice echoed below, calm, calculated, unhurried. Bring him back alive. Dahlia too. I want to know how far they got. Lorelei fired 2 quick rounds behind us. Screams. Metal scraping. We dropped 3 flights, landing on the alley concrete. I twisted my ankle. Didn't care. Kept running. Cut. Dahlia drove. Lorelei in the back, bleeding from her arm. I sat in the passenger seat, gripping the mahogany box like it could anchor reality. Where are we going? I asked. Someplace quiet, Dahlia muttered. Your grandfather had a cabin. Remote. No cameras. No Wi-Fi. Just trees and secrets. Lorelei pressed a rag to her wound. If they're deploying Brandon, it's not just cleanup anymore. They're tying loose ends. I turned back to her. He smiled like he'd been waiting for this. Because he has. Cut. The cabin sat near Lake Michigan. A forgotten patch of forest. Grandpa used to bring me here when I was 8. We fished. Ate burnt marshmallows. He told stories that sounded like metaphors but weren't. One day, he once whispered, truth won't be enough. You'll need proof and a place to hide it. Now I understood. We got inside. Locking every door. Blackout curtains. Silent alarms. Lorelei checked her gun. Dahlia booted up her laptop. I lit the fireplace with trembling hands. No signal. Good. Dahlia opened the box again. We missed something. She pulled out a folded page, thin, onion paper. Hidden beneath the notebook lining. Coordinates. A handwritten line. DNA doesn't lie. But people do. My mouth dried. Open that drawer, Lorelei said. I did. Found a plastic envelope, sealed. Inside, a printed DNA report. My name. My birth date. Test done through a lab in Madison, Wisconsin. 5 years ago. The father listed? Unknown. I blinked. What is this? There's a second report, Dahlia whispered. She opened it. Margaret Kessler. Subject, maternity test. Same date. Result, negative. I stepped back. Breath gone. No. This has to be forged. It's not, Dahlia said, voice flat. I looked to Lorelei. Tell me this is fake. She didn't blink. Walter suspected. Your whole life was staged. They needed a child to cover for succession. Not love. Legacy. My knees buckled. They're not my parents? No. No, I repeated. Then who am I? Cut. We sat in silence. The fire hissed. My hand shook. You were the contingency, Lorelei said. Walter adopted you without paperwork. Off-grid. That's why Brandon always hated you. You weren't blood, but you were chosen. I laughed. Dry. Bitter. I used to think being the black sheep meant I disappointed them. Turns out I never even belonged. The wolves were family ties, Dahlia said. But they still bite. Cut. Lorelei stood. Limped toward the bookshelf. Walter had fallback drives. Backup files. Not just for the laundering, for the bloodlines. She found a carved panel. Pushed. A click. Hidden safe. Inside, a hard drive. Labeled, Ghost Red. Everything he couldn't email, Lorelei said. Too dangerous. Dahlia connected it. Encrypted. But not impossible. She worked. I watched the screen load. File folders appeared. Dozens. Dates. Transfers. One titled, Magnus, Operations. Dahlia clicked. Subfolders. Contracts. Email threads. Internal audits. One email stood out. From a burner address. Subject, Transfer authorization, Kessler Estate. Body, execute succession clause. Secure Ethan. If resistance, activate Brandon. Dated, 2 days before Walter died. I stared at it. My name. My fate. Written like an afterthought. They planned this, I said. They own it, Lorelei replied. Cut. A beep. Static. The drive triggered audio playback. Walter's voice again. If you found this, Ethan, then the truth is still alive. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. But I needed you far from them until it mattered. Your blood isn't their blood. But your heart? That's mine. Finish what I started. Dahlia wiped her eyes. Do we release this? They'll kill us, Lorelei said. But if we don't, they win. The power flickered. Then cut. All lights out. A flash of motion by the window. Dahlia whispered, we're not alone. Outside, a red laser dot scanned across the glass. Heartbeat. Someone knocked. 3 slow. 2 fast. They found us. If I was never their son, was I just another pawn in their game? Lorelei raised her gun. No words. Just the click of a safety sliding off. The red dot moved across the window again. Then it stopped. I count 2 outside. Maybe more circling, she whispered. Dahlia unplugged the hard drive, stuffed it in her jacket. There's a hatch under the floorboards. Grandpa showed it to me once. Of course he did, I muttered. Man planned for everything except staying alive. We all die, Lorelei said, eyes scanning the window. The question is what we leave behind. Cut. We moved fast. Pulled the rug back. Lifted the trapdoor. A crawlspace, low and damp, reeking of old wood and secrets. As Dahlia dropped in, a shadow passed the window. Go now, Lorelei ordered. I'll hold them. You're bleeding, I hissed. I'm breathing. That's enough. She turned toward the front door, gun ready. Dahlia tugged my arm. Ethan. We have to go. We slid into the dark. Cut. The tunnel was narrow. Roots clawed from the dirt walls. Our breaths sounded too loud. Too human. Dahlia's flashlight barely held. We reached the hatch on the other side, rusted, padlocked. She pulled a small pry bar from her coat like it was part of her body. I never trust doors to open when I need them. She snapped the lock. We climbed out into the rain behind the cabin. Trees rose tall like cathedral columns. Thunder cracked. No headlights. No voices. But I knew they were close. I should have seen it earlier, I whispered. Seen what? Dahlia asked. The email. In the drive. The succession clause. They didn't just want to cover up the laundering. They wanted the estate, Grandpa's entire net worth, cleaned and transferred before anyone noticed. You were the decoy, she said. And the insurance. Not anymore. Cut. We hiked 2 miles through brush and mud until we reached the old ranger station. Empty. Abandoned. Still had a landline. Dahlia picked the lock. Inside, the walls were papered with fading maps. A dusty cot. A generator that coughed once and kicked in. We plugged the drive back in. The files loaded. Faster this time. Clearer. Dahlia decrypted the last locked folder. A video popped up. Security cam footage. Low quality. Audio warped. Maggie Kessler. My so-called mother. Standing in an office, lit only by desk lamp. Thomas sat across from her, holding a pen. My name was on the folder. It's done, she said in the video. Walter won't fight anymore. The medication's working. He thinks Ethan is his real heir. Thomas replied, then we keep Ethan close. Until we don't need him. Cut. I stared at the screen. They drugged him, I said. Dahlia nodded. That's not incompetence. That's premeditation. Lorelei's voice crackled through the old police radio we found. I'm alive. Got one down. Others backed off. They're not police. Private contractors. Brandon's involved. He's escalating. Cut. Dahlia tapped a key. One more file opened. Not financial. A ledger of names. Dozens. Under each, code words. Asset tags. Transfer routes. Magnus Holdings wasn't just laundering money. They were laundering people. I backed away. Holy shit. It's not just about the will, she said. Your family's part of something global. No, I said. They are the something. Dahlia stood. This isn't a legacy. It's a weapon. Cut. Footsteps outside the station. Crunching gravel. A flashlight beam cut across the window. We dropped to the floor. Through the back, I whispered. We slid out. Ran along the tree line. The woods opened into an access road. No cars. Then headlights. Wrong direction. SUV. Black. Government plates. It stopped in front of us. Doors opened. FBI. Lorelei stepped out, jacket torn, badge raised. Behind her, backup. Real backup. She walked toward us, soaked and furious. You're uploading that drive now, she said. There's no secure line, Dahlia warned. There is now. She pointed behind her, satellite uplink, mobile. I handed over the ghost file. The agent next to her inserted the drive. Transmission started. I watched the percentage tick up. 20%. 45%. 61%. Then Brandon stepped out of the woods. No gun. Just a grin. Upload all you want, he said. Do you think taking down the Kesslers ends anything? He stepped closer. We're not the top. We're the doorway. I moved toward him. Every instinct said no. Every memory screamed yes. Then I'll slam that door shut. Brandon smirked. You'll die trying. A shot rang out. He dropped. Not from me. Lorelei lowered her weapon. The file hit 100%. Transmission complete. Sirens in the distance. More lights. Helicopters above. The truth was out. This time, the truth couldn't be buried. The rooftop was slick with rain. Wind howled between steel beams. Helicopter blades chopped the sky above us. Searchlights sliced through the mist. Agents closed in from every direction. Brandon's body lay behind me. Eyes open. Gone. And still, even dead, he looked smug. Lorelei checked the screen. Upload confirmed. Fully mirrored across 5 media outlets. Encrypted backups. It's out. I nodded, unable to speak. Dahlia sat against the stairwell door, breathing hard, soaked through. She held the drive like it was a pulse she couldn't let go of. For a second, no one moved. Just the sound of sirens growing louder. Civilization catching up. I stepped away from the edge. Looked down at the city. The same skyline I'd grown up under, where I was always told who I was supposed to be. Legacy. Bloodline. Kessler. All lies. Truth, I muttered, is the only thing stronger than money. But it costs more than most are willing to pay. Cut. The FBI moved fast. Brandon's body was zipped. Maggie was arrested that same night, caught at O'Hare trying to board a chartered jet. Thomas vanished. Days later, he was found in a private resort in the Bahamas. A failed overdose. He survived. Barely. But his empire didn't. Magnus Holdings unraveled like a pulled thread. Shell accounts frozen. Witnesses came forward. Offshore accounts flagged. Lawsuits. Headlines. Indictments. Then the bombshell hearings. Live. Televised. And my name was at the center. Cut. Weeks passed. I sat in front of a Senate subcommittee. Suited. Still shaking. Still not sleeping. A senator leaned in. "Why didn't you come forward sooner, Mr. Kessler?" I paused. Because I thought they were my family. And I thought family meant something. And now? I met her eyes. Now I know blood's not thicker than truth. And love doesn't excuse evil. Cut. Dahlia and I stayed in hiding for a while. Witness protection? No. Just somewhere quiet. Safe. Cabin in Vermont. Firewood. Books. Silence that didn't stalk you. Lorelei visited once. Arm in a sling. Still cursing bureaucracy. "You did it," she told me, standing on the porch, snow in her hair. I shook my head. "No. Walter did. You finished it." We sat in silence. Then she handed me a letter. Yellowed. Unopened. My name on the front. I opened it. Walter's handwriting. Slower now. But clear. "Ethan, if you're reading this, it means the truth didn't die with me. That means everything. You weren't chosen because you were the strongest. You were chosen because you knew what pain was. And pain, when carried right, becomes justice." I folded the letter. Let the words sit in my chest. Some pain never goes away. But it teaches you how to stand when others bend. Cut. 6 months later. A new foundation launched, the Walter Initiative, an open-source platform for financial whistleblowers. Anonymous. Protected. Safe. Our first major case came from a banker in Luxembourg. Another web. Another empire. And I was ready. Because the moment you stop asking who you are is the moment you start deciding it. I wasn't a Kessler anymore. I was something better. Something earned. This time, the truth couldn't be buried. And neither could I.